Hello there, welcome. Hope you're having a great day today. We are talking about Ruth chapter 4 today, and this is just a teeny tiny book. It only has 4 chapters, and in today's chapter, we are continuing to talk about Ruth and Boaz. And if you will remember, in the previous chapter, Boaz kind of had to go through the proper protocol in order to marry Ruth or take Ruth as his wife. And he had to find the next closest heir or next closest relative to Ruth and make sure that this person didn't want to marry her. So the first part of the chapter is about that process and what happens there. And the relative ultimately says no, that they don't want to pursue this. So Ruth and Boaz are married. Ruth later becomes pregnant with a son. She has that son, and his name is Obed. What's interesting is Obed is the father of Jesse, if you've heard of Jesse, and the grandfather of David. So it's super interesting that Ruth has a son that is just above the lineage of Jesus. So I want to share with you a footnote today that talks about the last couple of verses in today's chapter. It says, "To some, the book of Ruth may be just a nice story about a girl who was fortunate. But in reality, the events recorded in Ruth were part of God's preparations for the births of David and Jesus, the promised Messiah. Just as Ruth was unaware of this larger purpose in her life, we will not know the full purpose and importance of our lives until we are able to look back from the perspective of eternity. We must make our choices with God's eternal values in mind. Taking shortcuts and living for temporary pleasures are not good ways to move ahead. Because of Ruth's faithful obedience, her life and legacy were significant enough, were significant even though she couldn't see all the results. Live in faithfulness to God, knowing that the significance of your life will extend beyond your lifetime. The rewards will outweigh any sacrifices you will have made." And that is just such a great word. Our pastor a few weeks ago actually preached about seeking your purpose in life. And that's a common question that most people have. And what we don't realize is sometimes the purpose we are fulfilling, just like with Ruth, is not something that we're going to see on the earthly side of things. She had no idea her significance in the lineage of having a child that would be just above Jesus being born. And very often we as humans, something that we are doing today may not impact someone or make a difference until after we are gone. So just continuing to pray, follow God's lead, and trusting that He is putting us exactly where we need to be to make that difference is the most important thing that we can do. Thank you guys so much for being here today. Have a great rest of your day. I'll see you next time.